You got your life going on. You got to figure out what works for you. But I am absolutely saying don't be lazy.
Make your luck. You got to make your luck. And if you make it, if you keep putting forth the maximal effort, that luck's going to come. You're going to make your luck happen. You know, that actually, when Task Unit Bruiser came home from Iraq, there was, people were like, oh, you guys got super lucky on that deployment because we got a lot of action. And there was two immediate thoughts behind that. Was number one, hey, first of all, we lost our bros. There's nothing lucky about that. Was the first immediate thought in my head. Was hey man, because the bottom line is SEALs want to go into combat bad. And that's just a broad statement. And so when we came home, had been in a lot of combat, killed a lot of bad guys, people were kind of saying, hey, you guys got lucky. And again, the first thought was, hey man, if this is luck, I don't want it. The second thought was just the same thing. Oh, we got lucky. We didn't crush ourselves into workup and try and be the most, prepared we could be, and then get overseas and then form relationships with all the conventional forces and do good work for them and continue to, just go as hard as we could the whole time. No, that didn't have anything to do with it. It was just luck, and it kind of fell into our lap.
Once you have become successful, so many people are going to claim that it's a fluke or it's luck, but you need to make sure that you know that it's because of all the hard work that you've put into it and all the time and all the sacrifices that you've taken. Waking up early, going to bed late, not going out to parties, and just focusing on your goals and knowing that you're going to be able to become the individual that you want to be down the line. A lot of people are going to say you're stupid and you're lame because you're not going out and having quote unquote fun at the time, but in actuality, you're helping yourself have fun in the future. Because if you don't have fun right now, that's okay. And focus on yourself, your dreams, so that one day you'll be able to have fun for the rest of your life. That's definitely worth it. That seems like a big sacrifice in the moment, but down the line, it will be worth it because everybody's going to be then jealous because they're having to put all this time and effort and energy into their jobs or whatever they're doing while you're kicking back, relaxing because you've already put in all that time and energy and effort and you've already took out time to focus on what it is that you truly want and you went after it. So many people will be so hesitant to do that and say they don't have enough time, they don't have enough money, or the situation just isn't right for them, but you need to make sure you go ahead and start as soon as possible so that you can get it done as soon as possible and reap the benefits for longer.
And the reason it's a good question because there can be legitimate reasons why things happen, right? So, for instance, and the mast snaps in half. Now you don't win the race. You didn't. The mast snapped. What can you do about that? Or the horrible weather rolls in and you can't launch your aircraft, so you can't go on your mission. You can't control the weather, so what's up? How could that? That's a reason. Or you get really sick, so you can't compete in a competition. That's a reason. You were sick. Or you do bad because you were sick, and it's a reason. Could be called. Now you could look at the situation and say, okay, if I'm going to take ownership of this, did I properly test the mast? Did I? Let me ask you this. Did we have a ground-based plan for the operation in case the weather came in, we were going to take vehicles instead? That would work. If you get sick before the competition, maybe you ask yourself, were you resting properly? Were you eating properly going into the competition so you wouldn't get sick? You could address that, correct?
The first book was called Extreme Ownership. What that means is you're not going to make any excuses. You're not going to blame anyone else. You're going to take ownership of whatever happens. And when something goes wrong, instead of pointing fingers and blaming someone else, you're going to take ownership of that problem. You're going to take ownership of figuring out what the solution to that problem is, and you're going to take ownership of implementing that solution. So that is the number one thing that I'm looking for a leader to do, is to take ownership of the problems. Again, we called that extreme ownership. And it was one of those things that was very easy to see in a SEAL platoon, because when someone doesn't take ownership and starts pointing fingers and blaming, for instance, right now, if I started pointing my finger and blaming you for something, what's your natural reaction gonna be? And then what happens is we have a team where I'm pointing the finger at you, you're pointing the finger at someone else, and now we have no one taking ownership of the problems, and therefore the problems never get solved. The opposite of that is when you have a good leader that steps up and says, hey, Ben, you know what? This broadcast didn't go the way I wanted it to. I should have done a better job preparing for your questions. I'm sorry, I apologize. And now instead of you getting defensive, you say, you know what? No, actually, I could have done a better job. And now both of us are taking ownership of the problems, and we're gonna get them solved. That's kind of the number one characteristic, is someone that has the humility. Because it hurts, it stings. When something goes wrong and you're a leader and you say, oh, you know what, all this was bad situation, it's my fault, I'll take ownership of it. That hurts, that stings the ego, so you have to be humbled in order to do that. People ask me all the time, like, hey, do you ever take days off? And my answer is, I take days off. I don't schedule them, but days off happen. Why? Because life happens, right? Sick kid, water heater breaks, car has a flat tire, can't get where I'm supposed to be. Guess what? You just bought yourself a day, a downtime. Now, like travel day, I get some flights that are whatever, they can leave here at 15 in the morning from San Diego, and sometimes I had a late night. For me to get up 3:30 to get a workout in, it's actually counterproductive. I'm smoking myself. So then I'll be like, okay, guess what? That being said, people also ask me, what do you do when you're sick? What do you do when you're tired? You know what? And this is a real simple answer. Do what you can. Rudy, you were just telling me, you didn't have a chance to work out today. You're in the room over there doing push-ups. Why? Do what you can. You maintain that discipline. People want to sleep in on the weekends. Negative! Don't sleep in on the weekends. The weekends when you got to hold the line. The weekends when you got to hold the line. If you sleep in on the weekend till 5:45, well then guess what? At night, all of a sudden you have a little extra energy, so you stay up a little later. So then Sunday morning, you sleep in till 6:30. Now Monday rolls around, that alarm goes off at 4:30 and you don't feel like doing it.
Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let us know what you thought down in the comment section below.